And I am back again. I've made it back to my park. And I'm kind of happy to be here. You know, I used to spend a lot of time here with my kids back in the day. You know, I've lived here all my life, but I never used to come to this park. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure it was because it didn't have all the things that I expected at a park. There's no playground, you know, there's no fun stuff for kids. Never really explored it, but there's a lot to see. It's become my favorite park because, you know, I used to come here with my kids and they just adored it. Lots to see, lots to explore, you know, and it was the location for a lot of things that were filmed back in the day. Let's see if we can find a few things to kind of explore, and then I'll get into what I want to talk about today. One of the cool things about this park is you got these signs that are put up by the park district and managed, maintained, that just discuss like what was going on here in this park back in the day. So this one here shows the main entrance to Vendetta Village. 1959, producer Howard Hughes built this for his picture Vendetta, released in 1950. It's directed and starred Faith Domerk. I don't know who that is. Anyway, that's how it used to look. This is how it looks now. Not the same. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been here, but I actually think I'm discovering for the first time that this park has an opening into the neighborhood down here. I seriously don't think I've ever seen this before. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe that neighborhood is called Hopetown. This whole property, or most of the property I believe, was purchased by Bob Hope back in the day, including this ranch area that they eventually ended up turning into homes. It's referred to as Hopetown, and I think that's what that is. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check a Google map, but I did not know that this was here. That is news to me. So I'm not at the actual spot, but if you look up at those rocky hills, right? It's reminiscent of the rocky hills that you may have seen in an episode of The Mandalorian. If you have Disney Plus, I do for the Star Wars. I'm not ashamed to say. Anyway, this is not where that was filmed, but it's a little bit over the hill to actually get to where it was filmed. So that was an episode of The Mandalorian where Grogu is using like a Jedi artifact to reach out and find any surviving Jedi to make himself known. And the Dark Troopers come in and grab him. They kidnap him at that point. But that was filmed here in my town in the Rocky Peak hiking trail that looks similar to what I'm showing you. It's not quite this, but it's not too far away, and I'll definitely have to get there at some point so I can show that to you. Kind of a bad decision, I think, today to show up here and not have my Zonk hat on. It is windy and a little chilly. Not too bad, but a little chilly. But yeah, you know, I was sitting down last night with my wife and having dinner with her, and I was just talking to her and thinking, you know, this is the kind of conversation that I would actually love to record. I can't even remember what we were talking about. I just wish that there were conversations that we had that I could just record, you know, and publish on a channel like this. I'll get her on camera. I talked to her about it, and I think she's willing to do it. She's mostly worried about my own issues and insecurities with stuff like this. So she wants me to get cozy with it. And then when I get cozy with it, then she'll join me. But that'll be fun, because she's fun. And she's a lot of why I'm doing this. You know, this is all, I don't know, existential crisis stuff, maybe. Midlife crisis stuff, maybe even. I don't know. But, you know, with the whole Adam the Woo thing, and me wanting to do this for a long time, and then just finding somebody out there who's doing it, and is now gone, but he's left behind this legacy of all this wonderful, amazing content. It's like, man, I got to do this. So I'm gonna. But I also have a lot of interests in making sure that I get content out there that's sort of in line with my primary interests, like where I think things are going from a technology standpoint, but I do that in a way that's not as loose as this, right? Like this, I don't care about. I don't care about algorithms. I don't care about, you know, are people going to find me? Like I'm trying to make that less of a concern. And that helps me get through it, really. If I worry about that, I'm not gonna do this. In fact, I recorded some video yesterday that I already trashed. You know, I was getting my car smogged, and I had my camera with me, and I started recording and talking about whatever came to mind. And in this case, it was Chevy Chase for some reason, about how I love the guy and how I just hated the fact that in real life he's probably not very pleasant. People talk, you know, a lot of shit about the guy. They don't like to work with him, and I hate that because I love his movies, especially from the 80s. Fletch is one of my favorites. So I started kind of ranting and raving about that, and, you know, then at the end of it, I'm like, who cares? And then I deleted it. But it's like, who cares, right? I mean, that's just my thoughts. It's my brain dump, and I just kind of want to get it out there. I don't need to worry about algorithms. I don't need to worry about who finds it, who doesn't find it. You know, I've got 1 subscriber at the moment. I've got 2 views on one video. I got 5 on another. So, like, it is what it is, and I just need to, like, let myself have that outlet and go with however it goes, I guess. Man, it is windy. It is. Hopefully my windscreen doesn't, or does its work. Anyway, see, stuff like this is why I think this park is so cool. Like this is a foundation. It's completely wrecked, right? It's been burned to the ground. That's part of the circumstances of living in a place like this is, you know, you have to burst into flames every so often, and you know, when that happens, you lose a lot of really cool stuff. Like a lot of the things that stood in this park for many years ended up burning down in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was. Let me take a look and see what was here. Yeah, so this was Fort Apache. Shows Gene Autry actually in front of the balcony building during the filming of a scene from Indian Territory, built by John Ford, latter half of 1947, for the movie Fort Apache. This was the set right here, and it probably stood here for a long time, and then the brush fires in this area, they did what they did, and there's really no purpose other than nostalgia to kind of build this stuff up again. That would require budget that nobody's got. So this is all that is left of that set. But at one point you could come to this park and you could see that whole thing built fully, mess around with it, check it out. Now it's gone. Our park district is being mindful of our rain situation. You have rain like this, it just rolls down these hills. These little divots here are where the rain ends up pouring downhill, and they keep it pretty well under control. But it's an issue. If you take a look at the ground here, you can see it is not very welcoming after a rain. All right, this is our trail. This is where we would walk. So, you know, you got this little running stream here, you know, that is very soft mud. Avoid at all costs kind of mud right here. Seriously, don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. My feet sink into the mud, but I'm on a rocky trail at this point, so I'm able to get through it, but my God, this is pretty bad. Oh shit. That's not good. That's gonna be a problem. Yep. That's not gonna help me. Looks like I gotta go back into the mud. Here we go. Even kidding, I'm actually kind of lost here. It's crazy. I haven't been here in a couple of years, you know, aside from just being here the other day when I filmed that first video. But man, I forgot how to navigate around here. I think it's because it's so like grown out. Like a lot of the landmarks that I'm used to, I just don't even see. So, you know, as I get up to these puddles and, you know, I'm blocked here and there, I'm like, all right, how do I keep on going so I can see some more of the cool stuff at this park? Because there's all kinds of like movie locations and stuff that are just killer, really cool. All old movies, you know, so think like 40s and 50s and stuff. The Robin Hood TV show was filmed out here, like the Sherwood Forest was here. And they've got, I mean, they've just got cool stuff to show. I just want to get there, but I'm like having trouble navigating the mud, and I'm sort of losing track of where I am. It's crazy. Anyway, going back to what it was that I was saying about like what it is that I want to focus on. I want to have YouTube channels or YouTube channel that focuses on AI technology because of my belief that AI technology is such a game changer, and I just don't think that people are talking about it the way that they should be talking about it. I think that AI is going to change the way that your average person uses their computer and enable them to do things that they couldn't do before. I feel like it's one of those computer innovations that is similar to, the monitor and the keyboard, or the mouse and the graphical user interface. Like it changes the scope of who can use computers at a more advanced level. And there's a lot of arguments about, machine learning and using other people's hard work to train on all that stuff. And I think those are all valid arguments. I'd love to get those settled. I think that there are arguments about who is going to control AI, and I think that we see that the billionaires are kind of racing towards being the ones who control it. They want to own that technology. They want to sell its use to consumers. That's a little bit troubling. I mean, I think so far it's okay, but I think eventually you run the risk of, can AI only be used by the elite? Can it only be used by people who have a lot of money, right? That's something that you have to worry about. And that's where you want to get your legislators involved. You want to reach out to your members of Congress and say, hey, are you watching this technology evolve? And what are you doing to make sure that, we maintain some level of control and that there's equity as far as, who benefits and how? Like, is this going to benefit just the billionaire class, or is it going to benefit all of us? If you look at what the technology is, it should benefit all of us. It's basically enabling us to use our own natural language, the way that we speak, the way that we communicate, the way that we write, to do really great advanced things with technology. So I want to put together a YouTube channel that's going to enable me to talk about that at a greater length, go into all of the issues, all of the good and all of the bad. And I want that to be the one that's organized, where I'm worried about the algorithm, I'm worried about optimization, I'm worried about, are people finding me, are they not finding me? This, on the other hand, I want to be sort of my journal, where I go to brain dump, where I go to just talk about whatever, right? Like I said yesterday, I was getting my car smogged. I would get my car smogged, talk about Chevy Chase, record that, and publish that video. And if someone finds it, they find it. And if they do, it'll be on this channel. I'm just going to run through here just a little bit. I don't want to get lost. I don't recognize it. Like the last time I was here, there wasn't like this little tiny trail that you have to, navigate through all this brush to get through. It was, yeah, see, maybe it's opening up. I think it's just grown out, and it's just really throwing me for a loop. So I'm going to keep going here and see if I can find some of the cool stuff that I was talking about just a minute ago. It's a really cool park. It's a really great park. I feel like we're really lucky to have it. Whoa, geez. Yeah, man, I think it's been too long since I've been here, because this is blowing my mind. What on earth? Like, I took a wrong turn or something, because this trail is going to another park. Has it been too long? Has it been too long since I've been here and things have just changed? They get rid of stuff? Or am I just lost? I think I might be lost. I'm guessing there's just not a chance in hell that I'm picking up those birds. There just isn't, is there? I cannot see them in my monitor. I like this camera, but I think I need another one. I like this one a lot. It's the Insta360 Go Ultra. Very versatile. I spent a lot of time researching this camera and using it as my excuse for not being able to start this channel. Now I've got it, and I've got plenty of reasons why I need to get a new camera. And I've got one waiting for me at Best Buy. I purchased it. It's ready for pickup. That is the epitome of me. Does that make sense? It does now. I gotta get out of here. I gotta tell my kids that I don't know what the hell I'm doing at this park anymore. They're gonna be heartbroken. I mean, I can't imagine that they got rid of a bunch of features at the park. I think I just took a wrong turn. I think I just don't know where I'm going. I think it's grown out. The landmarks are different. And I don't know my way around. I saw a few other people on a trail that was not anywhere near mine, and I think that might be where I need to be, but yeah, I totally blew it. So, let's just see if I can find my way home. It is truly going to break my heart if they ended up getting rid of all the stuff that I love so much about this park. But that just goes to show you what happens when you don't come here very often. You have kids and they get big and they don't want to go to parks anymore. And you know, you're not running your own little vlog yet, so you really have no reason to go to the park by yourself. So, I don't know. I feel like things have changed here, and I'm just finding out about it. Hi. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of hiking trails here, and it's beautiful. But all the movie set stuff that I was trying to get to, I'm not getting to it. I can't find it. I mean, I see people out there on various trails, but I mean, the big path that takes you deeper into the park where all those old movie sets are, they're not here. And it goes up to that neighborhood now. So I either took a wrong turn or things have changed and I'm just finding out about it now. It sucks. Yeah, you know, and all this water doesn't make it all that pleasant, to be honest. That's always been a thing though with this park. You know, if it rains, you got to give it a few weeks. So that's what I'm experiencing now. I'm back on this rocky path, heading back, and I've got, you know, this little stretch here where I can step on these rocks, but then I've got, towards the end of this path, you can kind of see it already, like a lot of soft mud that I have to navigate through. I'm wearing crappy shoes that I hate, which works out, I guess. But yeah, man, look at that. It's called people slipping and sliding is what that is. Yeah, see that? Yeah, ordinarily it's a nice smooth trail, but we got these little divots from the running water and lots of soft mud to step into. Yay. See all that? I gotta get through that. I'm standing here on the side, boom, on the rocks, but I gotta get through that, and I'm thinking that's my best route right there, through the brush, because I was stepping around here and my feet would sink, like, seriously, a couple inches into the ground. So no thank you. So, you know, I cruise around YouTube and I try to find interesting stuff, and I watch YouTube now more than I watch television. Shoot, man, I'm sinking. And ended up finding this dude a few months ago. This guy, his name's German in Vegas. That's the name of his channel. Anyway, what did I find? The first thing I found actually had absolutely nothing to do with him. I found a video of Arnold Schwarzenegger riding his bike through Venice Beach. You know, somebody had like a camera like mine attached to their bike and then just sort of followed the guy around. Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so, oh yeah, wow. I mean, I'm up on a trail, I can see houses. That's not a thing. Like, man, I'm not going the usual route here. Man, it's so different. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, you know, somebody was cruising around on their bike, following Arnold as he rode his bike through Venice Beach. It was kind of fascinating, actually, because I like Arnold. I would have been thrilled to see him. I'm a big fan, actually, so I would have been really excited. And it was just kind of funny seeing people recognize him, you know? And then there's other bikers that would see him and they'd follow him, which has to be annoying. I think it's one of the reasons why we see a lot of celebrities around here, especially out here in the suburbs, because we're studio close. Somebody could be filming a movie out here for a couple of years, rent a house out here in the suburbs to get away from the LA crazy, So you see a lot of them out here at the airport in particular. You know, if you're ever flying to Los Angeles, you'll see celebrities, maybe, you know, on your plane or something. It's just really common. So, but I tried to stay away from them because of what I was seeing with that whole Arnold incident, right? Where, you know, he's just trying to have himself a good time, enjoy some time on his bicycle. And he's getting followed around by these weird guys who, you know, he has no idea who they are. They're putting their fists out for a fist bump, and he's just kind of keeping his eyes forward and moving along. You know, you see stuff like that, and you're like, come on, Arnold, can't you give him a fist bump? But it's like, he's got to get that all day long, right? He's got to get that just all the time. So I kind of get why he wouldn't want to do it. He'd be doing it all day. You know, he's just out there to enjoy the fresh air and ride his bike. So anyway, I enjoy being sort of voyeuristic when I see, you know, celebrities or actors and stuff that I like, but I usually don't bug them because of stuff like that. You can just tell, like, they have a life to live and they want to live it, so I tend to leave them alone. But anyway, I watched that whole video, and there was something about watching that video that led me to start getting recommendations for German in Venice. You know, and I had kind of a hard time understanding, like, what he was about, like, what's he doing, because he was just sort of filming stuff. You know, he was filming stuff. I think there was a movie actually that was maybe being filmed at the beach. He might have been getting footage of that. There was an actor there. Actor didn't want to be on camera. You could tell, you know, people were holding umbrellas up so that, you know, people can't gawk at him, take pictures with their cell phones and stuff. Anyway, there was that. But then, you know, pictures of graffiti, activity on the beach. And I love Venice. Venice is great. I had a couple of friends that lived in Venice on the beach for years. And going out to see them was like going on vacation, you know. And it's just right at the beach. So super quick. Going out there, hang out with my friends in their little tiny apartment. But it was on the beach, so it was just it was a whole new world. Anyway, started watching German in Venice. Turns out he knows Adam the Woo. They all hang out and stuff, and started watching his videos again, subscribed last night. You know, it's just it's an interesting community of people that exist on YouTube that don't give a shit about the algorithm. And I've been trying to get serious about content production, and the algorithm has been my biggest headache. There's something kind of liberating about being able to just sit here and talk into a camera and not care about an algorithm and feel better about getting these thoughts off my chest. So that's what I intend to continue doing. You know, something that occurred to me, you know, when I was here the other day was, you know, this park was used to reconstruct Spawn Ranch. That's the old movie ranch that served as a home to the Manson family and was recreated in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That whole Spawn Ranch set was recreated and rebuilt here in this park. The actual ranch no longer exists. I'm sure actually that it burned down, probably in the 90s if I'm not mistaken. So they couldn't film there anyway. Yeah, they had to reconstruct that set, or that ranch rather. They did so here in this park. The funny thing was, I was doing a little bit of research on that to see if I could actually locate some video or photographs of that effort. You know, just to see, like, what did that look like? Because, you know, with the closed set, it's not like you can sit there and loiter, right? You know, you either had to get here and take a picture of it or film it before they dismantle it. But you couldn't loiter on the set while they were filming. They won't let you do that. But yeah, I ended up finding some video of that set here at the Corriganville Park, and was pretty excited. But it ended up being on this channel that was dedicated to Spawn Ranch. I'm like, what? There's a channel dedicated to Spawn Ranch? And there is. Stoner Van Houten, I think, is the guy's name. I mean, I've never heard of him until I found it. But again, that's like one of those things where it's like, man, this community, it weaves into everything. So yeah, I found that guy's channel and I started looking at his stuff, and he's hanging out with Adam the Woo also. It's crazy. Like, Adam came out here to discover more about Spawn Ranch, and in doing so connected with this guy because he's got a channel that's dedicated to the topic. I'm like, my God, that guy is everywhere. It's amazing. It's amazing that I'm just finding out about him now. That's what's really amazing. Let me sum up as I walk through the mud. I think that everybody should be doing this. I think that everybody should be kind of getting their stuff out there, no matter what it is. It's very difficult. You know, like I'm walking around here talking into a camera. There's people hiking all over me, like, you know, all around me. They're looking at me like, what is this guy doing? And I kind of get that. I mean, I feel like if it were, I don't know, a handful of months ago and I saw somebody doing this, I'd be like, what's that dude doing? So it's definitely hard and kind of awkward. But, you know, I look at the legacy that Adam has left behind and I'm like, dude, how do you not want to do that? You know? I mean, let people know who you are and what you're about. Oh yeah, I'm going down there. So that's kind of my goal. You know, and I looked at the comments that he gets, and some of the comments are pretty crap, you know? He'll take a video of, you know, fountains or something, and, you know, he'll get feedback like, people don't care about fountains. I'm like, God, you gotta be a jerk about it? But yeah, I mean, they do. People have to be jerks about stuff. So that's one of the things I'm gonna have to adapt to, is having to hear crap like that. I'm gonna go down there. Yeah, you know, this park isn't the same. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, maybe in a sad way, but it isn't the same. There's not all the same stuff unless I can't find it. I mean, it was pretty easy. You hit the trail, you start walking, you run into the cool stuff. I'm just not seeing it. I don't know if it's because it's crazy muddy and I'm just getting thrown off by how grown out all the brush is, or what, but there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to get to that I'm not able to get to. It's kind of a bummer. But yeah, you know, going back to what I was saying, I guess my hope is that I can just, you know, really kind of stick with this, loop my wife in. I feel like it would be a really great way for me to, you know, show my wife the appreciation that I have for her and her journey with breast cancer. You know, it's funny because I feel like the term that they keep using when I talk about it with others is survivor's guilt. I don't know if I like that term. I don't know if I feel guilty for surviving. That may just be what it's called. But I don't know. I don't feel like I've done an adequate job of expressing to my wife how incredibly brave she's been, how insanely impressed that I am, and how grateful that I am that she chose to fight as hard as she did, because she did fight really hard. When the whole thing started, you know, they were like, well, we'll just do this lumpectomy surgery and call it a day. And then that surgery had complications. There was an infection. It required a lot of high-touch activity, going to the hospital every day. I mean, it was an endeavor to where when they ended up coming back to us at one point and saying to us, hey, look, we did that lumpectomy. They did the lumpectomy from her breast to remove the cancerous tissue. They also found that the lymph nodes under her arm were also cancerous, one of them anyway. And they're like, we're going to take that out, but we're going to take out all of the ones around it because that stuff spreads and we want this to never come back. So they took out all those lymph nodes. They took out the lump. They then do a biopsy, I guess, to determine of the tissue that we have removed. Let's check all of because they take clean tissue around the cancerous tissue because it could have spread. And then they examine all of that tissue to determine what are the margins of cancerous cells that we're seeing outside of that tumor, to determine, have we gotten enough of the healthy flesh around the tumor to ensure that we have not only removed the cancer, but we have removed the start of the spread. I may not be explaining it very well, but hopefully you get my point. They looked at that tissue that they removed, and then they came back to her and said, look, we got to go back in. We got to get more. The margins that we're looking at, they're just not what they need to be for us to feel like you're in a good spot. So we are obliged to go back in and take out more. And now this is after she's had the surgery, had major complications from it with this really, really bad infection that was very high touch and required a lot of hands-on to make sure it healed correctly. Like, we were packing a wound every day at the hospital, no joke, and doing it ourselves on the weekend. And I'll go into it at some point, but it was no joke. Anyway, now she's faced with, we want to go back in and do the surgery again. We want to take out more. And that's when she was just like, F it, She has a member of her family who has experienced breast cancer, I think, is it twice? It might be 3 times. It's crazy, whatever it is. It's like, if you have cancer and it comes back, F that. And I think she's facing it like for the 3rd time. And so she's looking at that and she's like, I don't want that. Double mastectomy. Let's just be done. So, and that's no joke of a surgery, man. Like, that's a big surgery. So she did that. Now she's done chemotherapy. And chemotherapy is done. Like, she's gotten a clean bill of health. They're like, you're cancer free. But there are things that you can do to make sure to lower the percentage of a chance of recurrence. And she's trying to bring it as low as she possibly can, which means she's doing whatever they advise. And they said radiation will bring your chances from the 4% that it's at right now of a reoccurrence down to 2%. And there's all kinds of things that come with radiation. It's not just the inconvenience of having to drive out to Sunset Boulevard. And if you know Los Angeles freeways and the fact that we live in the suburbs, that sucks. It's also kind of painful, right? Kind of hurts over time. And then there's also the whole, what are the long-term effects? Does it damage the skin? Does it make it challenging for reconstructive surgery? All those things, right? And she was like, F it to all of that. She's like, I'm all about living. I'm all about being here with my family and my kids. I want that 2%. I'll bring that 4% down to a 2%, whatever it takes. And that's what she did. So she's doing her radiation, and we got like a couple more weeks of that, and then she's done. And then we just hope for the best. And that's amazing. And I want to find some way to celebrate that, to express to her how impressed that I am. And I just don't do that very well. I'm not good at that. I feel like getting her on camera and getting her out there is a really good way of showing that, because I feel like somebody somewhere is going to find that and is going to be inspired by that. And I feel like that's a really good way of me showing my appreciation. It's me saying thank you to my wife and giving her a gift. God, I'm so bad at expressing stuff like that. So hopefully this can help. Anyway, I've talked for a long time. I've had a lot of people look at me like, what is wrong with this dude? So I think I'm going to call it a day. I have stuff that I want to do today that's probably not interesting enough to film, but I'll see if I can work it in. Got friends coming out to have dinner with us. And I've got to clean my house to make way for an electrician to come in and turn our lights back on, because we shorted out like a couple of our circuits with our Christmas lights and the rain. So we got to get that situated. So anyway, if you're one of my 5 viewers, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you again soon.